That should work. Yes, good. Hi, guys. Just waiting for Chen to join. Oh, hi, Amanda. You're the first one in the room. You're probably the first one to leave as well. Hi, guys. Won't be long. Who is absolutely freezing? Because I am. I'm not made for this cold weather. I've literally got my my feet against the radiator now. Oh no, I've got a troll that has joined already. Please don't troll me today. Just wait. Oh God, I said please don't troll me. I am not showing my biceps, okay? Because I know who this is.
Hello.
Hi. You know, you never know if it's gonna work. So you're
I was waiting. I was like, so are we showing our biceps first? Or?
I'm gonna start the live by saying, do not do a bicep flex, no matter how much this guy asks you to. And I'll explain all later because people that watch my last series of lives know who this is.
Well, biceps flex at the end, so you have to watch till the end if you want to see.
How's your lockdown day been? Mine's been absolutely freezing.
Yeah, no, honestly, I got my blanket right here.
I've got mine as well.
I usually sit in a robe now, and every time if I have like a really serious meeting, I like take it off and I'm like, hey, and then right after I'm like, oh, bye.
I usually work in an office, so I'm not used to having to have my heating on all day, but I'm cheap, right? So I turn it on, I turn it off, I turn it on, I turn it off, and I'm like, oh, it's too cold.
Yeah,
but
hopefully.
Spring is coming.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Doesn't feel like it, but it is coming.
It will. It'll happen quick. I've got faith. So thank you for coming on today. I'm really interested to hear from you because we haven't really had, I don't even really know any first timers because you kind of hang out with the people you compete with, right? So say in 3 years' time, your friends in 3 years' time will be the ones you made in those first couple of seasons.
True, yeah.
So it was your first season last year, wasn't it?
Yep.
How did you find that? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I went into it kind of being like, I've always sort of wanted to compete, but I probably won't compete for the future just because, like, I was like, oh, health and, like, you know, like, balanced lifestyle and all that. And then I think because I am quite a competitive person, after doing one season, I was like, oh my God, this is so addicting. Like, I just want to prove I want to start prep again. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
So you do the junior class, just for anyone that's watching so they don't understand. So I'm going to say that the juniors are meant to have less muscle than us masters, but some of them are crazy.
I was like, how?
I know. Sometimes at PCA World Championships, a junior won the overall, and then she won her pro card, and then she won the pro show.
Oh my God, yeah.
She was stacked. She looked insane.
Yeah.
So yeah. But so what was your kind of history before competing? Like, were you active? Had you dieted before? Like, what was your body like?
Yeah. So I was always quite sporty. I used to play touch rugby, which is quite a big sport back in New Zealand. Did a lot of athletics. So always had, like, I guess, quite dominant quads. And that was something I was so insecure about growing up because I think growing up, especially like in an Asian culture, like they really emphasize like slim, small girls. And my mom would always make a comment, be like, your quads look so strong and big. In a way that I was like, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. So yeah, I grew up quite insecure with the fact that like I did have quite muscly legs. And then when I started uni, I had a gym literally like 3 minutes walk away from me. So I started going, and then I think it was first of uni, just being away from my like family and everything. I kind of developed like a really disordered habit of eating. Like I pretty much would skip lunch because I had labs anyway, so it was like a good excuse just not eat. I didn't like my whole food, so all I would have would be like steamed veggies. Did like high intensity cardio every day. started lifting, but because I didn't really have anyone to guide me, I would go at like 2 a.m. just to like learn how to squat, because I was so terrified, because it's like every time you go and it's full of like people at uni, but like massive guys, right? So I was like, I can't be seen.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I was like, actually, I really enjoy lifting. Like, I want to get stronger. And I think just that goal itself actually helped me to eat more, because I realized that I had to feel my body correctly. So yeah, it was a bit of like the first year and a half was pretty much me like kind of not eating enough, but trying to train hard, thinking I could build muscle in that way.
Yeah.
And then I remember just going, like, I made my Instagram and everything, and I found a lot of the WBFF girls. So that was kind of what made me want to compete initially. And I remember seeing like Lauren Simpson, everyone, and I was like, oh my god, they look so strong and empowering. Like, I want to do that.
And then you looked at how much it costs to compete with WBFF, and you were like, no, it's all right.
Yeah, I was like, wow. And things
like, it's crazy.
I got a coach actually from Australia who was like into WBFF, and because I was in the UK, she always missed out calls. Like, I would get up at 5 a.m. just to call her time, and it'd be like 6 a.m. she'd be like, oh, I forgot our call again. I'm like, okay, this isn't working. Like, and then like first lockdown came, and I was like, look, like, I don't think I'm ever going to find the time again just to like, you know, compete and really dedicate everything to this. So I want to try it. So first lockdown, I signed up with Rob, and all of that's history now.
So how long was it from when you signed up with LRF to when you actually competed? Like, did you have any kind of off season or building phase with him, or did you go straight into prep?
I had like a month and a half in lockdown. So I joined at the end of, I think, April, and we started at June, July. My first show was at Ben Weeder, so that was September. So it was initially 18-week prep, but then I ended up doing 2 more shows afterwards, so I had like 3 peak weeks, so it ended up being extended.
So were you quite lean going into your prep anyway? So like, this is the first time you've kind of put on a bit more body fat?
So the highest weight I reached like before my prep was 57 kgs. And like, to be fair, so this is what's weird. Like, when I was at 57 kgs, like back then, I was like, yeah, to be fair, I still like my body. Like, I'm a bit chubbier now, a bit fluffier, but I kind of like it. But for some reason, when I was 57 kgs again after prep, and like everyone around me, like my friend who lives with me, she's like, no, but your body comes in so much better. I was like, no, I look horrendous. Like, and I was looking back at old photos, and I was like, I was 57 kgs here. I'm 57 kgs now, this chicken. Why do I hate the way I look now, even though everyone's telling me I look better and I think I look fatter? And I think it's because I've seen my body, like, I was so used to my like stage leanness that when I like gained weight again, all I could see was like the fat and like how like the lines were disappearing. And it's really weird, like, it really fucks with your head.
Yeah, I mean, I've competed. The first year I competed, I lost only 1 kilo.
Yeah.
I was quite lean already. Wow. I obviously must have put on a tiny bit of muscle while I was prepping.
Yeah.
And I was shredded, but I didn't really have any muscle. I had a tiny little delt, and that was it. My back is quite wide naturally, so I already had a good lat spread without any lats. And I got so fat in that off season. My coach didn't prepare me. He didn't give me any advice. He was a bodybuilder. I'd turn up to the gym crying because I was so hungry. And he'd say, I know you're actually following the plan because you're doing it properly because you're crying. And like, it was like, if you're not crying, you're not doing it properly. So I had that kind of like all or nothing fish in a rice cake bloody thing. So obviously I just binged for a year, and I've never been fat. I've never put on body fat before. Oh my god. I post the pictures every now and then, and people are like, that's not you. And I was like, I ate 3 of me.
Oh my god.
But I just wasn't ready for that. There was no diet support afterwards, you know, like I did my show and it was done. And back then, so this is like 2014, 2015, there just wasn't this community on Instagram to help you learn, you know, like, and even now, the reason I'm doing these lives is just because there's just not that much said about how much we hate our bodies at certain stages. Yeah. For me, I actually hate myself when I'm stage lean because I look dead.
Yeah.
But I completely understand why you feel uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not joking. The day you told me that you felt shit and that you cried after you took a picture. I was looking at that picture thinking, I wish I looked like that, like at that age.
Honestly, I think we just look at us, because I look at your photos, I'm like, she looks great. Like, I look at other girls, I'm like, dang, they look amazing. But then when I look at myself, I'm like, ugh. I think it's just like we're our worst critics, because, you know, we see ourselves every day and we just pick ourselves apart. Like, I don't think I've ever spoken to myself so negatively until after prayer. And it scares me because I'm like, I preach so much about, like, you know, like self-love and all that. And I'm like, why the hell am I speaking to myself like this?
Yeah, I think it's so difficult, and it really, really depends on the people you have around you. And in your first year, you meet a lot of people and you haven't really sifted through who are your people yet. You know, like it takes a little while, doesn't it, to connect with the right people. So then you're surrounded by some people with some crazy mindsets that warp yours even more. But you guys have, like, I know you've got a male coach that's a little bit different, but he's very experienced. So he must be used to dealing with the kind of crisis that we have in our head about we are fat when we're not even fat. Like,
honestly,
you know.
With my chickens, every time I like type out, I look fat, I think I'm fat, I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry. Like, I feel like you probably hear this every morning after, especially after all the shows. I feel like there's 30 chicken forms and all these girls being like, I'm fat. So I might not type that in. I was like, oh, Do
you know, I think the most important thing, though, is to be honest with your coach. Because they've got so many coping strategies that we would never think of, because they deal with so many of us crazy bikini girls that are moaning about I never tell my coach I'm fat. I always tell her that I've got no muscle. And I'm like, I haven't got any muscle. You know, I shouldn't compete. I should take another year off. And she's like, you're insane. Like, and then I got on stage and I look back at the stage pictures and the people that I thought were massive, we've got the same size. We just got different detail, if you know what I mean. But I don't envy you being in your first off season. But honestly, like, you're doing so well. You haven't rebounded like I did.
I honestly think, like, it's just having a coach. Like, I was talking to my coach, like, I honestly don't know how, like, so many people are like, oh, it's my off season now, I don't need a coach, like, it's too expensive. I'm like, honestly, I've needed my coach way more, especially that post show. Like, even the first, like, 3 months, that was probably the most important 3 months, because I would have struggled so much without the accountability. Honestly, I think it was, like, this first week after my last show, I've got an IGTV actually of me just bawling my eyes up. But basically that night, I try to have my first, like, off-plan meal, and even to this day, like, off-track meals confuse me, because I'm like, if I can have an off-track, does this mean I can have everything in the fucking fridge right now, or, like, does it mean just one meal and I just keep eating? And it's so that was my first off-track, and I ended up voice noting him at like 11 p.m. crying my eyes out. And I was like, my poor coach, it's just me going like, I'm so sorry, no, I promised I would take this off season, like, you know, seriously, and I really want to, like, I'm so motivated, so disciplined, but I don't know what it is. I've just had like 6 square bars and like 2 cookies and I feel like shit. And then the next morning I listened back and I was like, oh god, my coach is waking up to this.
He is going to be so used to it, it's unreal. You know, when I first started competing, he didn't prep bikini competitors. He only prepped figure girls, or body fitness they were called back then. So yeah, it was only really, I think maybe Phoebe was one of his first girls. They started to take on bikini girls, and obviously that must be his bread and butter now. So he must be used to the craziness.
Hormonal girls,
yeah. But have you got any support from the girls that are also in your team? Like, do you guys have a community?
Yeah, like, we always keep in touch and we're always kind of messaging each other, which honestly, like, helps so much, because it's just like, it's reassuring to hear another girl be like, oh yeah, I think I'm fat too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's not just me.
Just got to try and turn the sound off on my laptop, because someone's WhatsApping me, calling me a pussy, because I said I'm like, I'm not training tomorrow, I'm exhausted. And he's like, what? I'm like, I'm so tired. So are the other girls feeling the way that you are feeling?
Yeah.
Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, are you batshit crazy compared to them? Because you're so small, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. In terms of like how I'm finding it, or like,
just like, so I've got a group WhatsApp with there's 5 of us, I think, and we're all very different looks. We're different categories, we're different federations, and we kind of tell each other, we call each other out, you know. It's tough love, because we are being irrational, right? And so someone who is eternally lean, like I've never seen this girl get bigger, because she's already built her physique. She doesn't need a big off season like me. She'll say she's fat, and I literally just get the machine gun out, and I'm like, what are you talking about? The rest of us are 20 kilos over our stage weight, and she's sitting like, she looks like she's about to compete sometimes. But yeah, we tough love each other. So I haven't got anyone enabling me when it comes to the trash talking myself and stuff, because they're just literally like, shut the fuck up. Do you have those people around to help you keep your head on straight?
Yeah, for sure. Like my friend who I'm living with right now, she will literally just be like, have you like seen yourself? And I'll be there in like tears, like, yeah, like I look fat. And she's just like, oh my God. And honestly, like looking back now, I feel so bad, because I remember even during prep, I was like before my show, I was like, I don't think I'm lean enough. I'm really fat. And
that's normal.
Obviously been bulking as well. So now, and then after my show, she's like, yeah, I felt like it made me feel terrible, because you were dieting and so lean and you were calling yourself fat. And here I am like bulking. And I was like, oh my God, like I never realized, because even like in prep, it's just like the body dysmorphia and like how your brain just like sees yourself, it completely changes, and it's so weird.
Yeah. So how many months has it been since you competed then now?
It's been 17 weeks. I know that because I checked in today, not because I'm actually counting.
That's like when you ask someone how old their baby is and they say in weeks. I'm like, I need months and years.
Yeah, you're like, what? Yeah. 17 weeks.
So how do you feel, like, honestly, about what you look like right now?
Now, so this past week has been a lot better, but before this past week, I cried like 4 chickens ago. Just because I felt like absolute crap. I think it's also because I was so bloated, like the amount of food I was trying to shove down me, and like I'm tiny.
Yeah.
So like the feeling of being bloated 24/7, like just looking in the mirror and just seeing your stomach, like I literally look pregnant, and then still having to force feed, like I think it just really messes with your mind, because you feel like a pig, because like you keep eating, like all you're doing is eating, and like maybe you don't look fat, but you feel fat because you just keep eating. Yeah.
In my first off season, I had so much food, and it was all whole food. There was no like flexibility. It was very rigid. It was that fish and a rice cake guy. And I used to cry every morning when I ate my fish for breakfast, because now I'd love it. I'll eat anything. I used to get home, say I got home from the gym at 9, I would then have to eat constantly from 9 until 11 to just get all those calories in that I hadn't been able to eat during the day. And I just was so uncomfortable. Yeah. But I'm not joking. Going through, I mean, it doesn't have to be as extreme as that, but going through, I had a big bulk after that first show. I took 2 years off to grow. Wow. I needed it. I must say, actually, when I look at your physique, it's really reminiscent of what mine was like when I first started. We've got the same kind of frame. Yeah. And I'd look at these other girls that were so much bigger than me and think, I'm never going to get there. What's the point? I'm doing all this training for nothing. I'm absolutely exhausted. I hate the training in the off season until this year, because all of a sudden I'm strong and I look more athletic because my muscles maturing. Yeah. But it's honestly such a long game. And I think that in your first off season, if you want to be in this sport for a long time, you really just have to, you're going to feel shit, but just suck it up. Yeah. Speak to your coach all the time though, because they can change things. Yeah. You know?
That's honestly what I've been telling myself. I'm like, honestly, like, do I want to look lean all year round and look good now, or do I want to come back on stage and look fucking awesome? You know? So I was like, okay, like I really don't care now. It's like a small sacrifice now. And at the same time, it's like you are so much more than what you look like. And I try to remind myself that as well. I'm like, I'm more than how much I weigh, how much body fat I have on now. As long as I'm healthy, I'm fucking strong. Let's go.
Yeah. And this is the time. I know COVID has got in the way a little bit, but this is the time, your off season, when you can enjoy yourself a bit more socially. You know, eat with your friends or your housemates, and someone just randomly offers you some cookie dough they've made, you can smash it in and not worry, because it might not be in your diet plan. But I keep saying, anything over my macros that my coach has set me, I just got diet off in the end. So if I want to eat the cookie dough, it's worth it.
That's the point, yeah.
You know? And you've already done the diet once. You know you can get the body fat off if you need to. And I think that my confidence to get so big this off season in comparison to my previous ones is that just confidence that I'm gonna diet it off. I've done it 3 times already, so I know I can. And I think that when you're new, you just don't know what your body's capable of yet. And it's you. I always say, like, don't listen to other people on Instagram because they can get in your head. But there's stuff like that when you do listen and you're like, okay, she's clearly not lying because she's going to compete this year. I'm much bigger than my coach. I was nervous when I checked in last week. I haven't checked in since the 4-week lockdown, and I thought she was going to be like, right, we've got to rein the food in. And she just said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because I've never seen you look this good underneath.
Yeah.
Because the coaches can see underneath, right?
Yeah. So do you feel better actually not like checking in every week? Because I feel like I need that. Like, I look forward to my check-ins because they keep me on track. And, you know, I feel like I'd be so lost if it was like 4 weeks and I still hadn't checked in with my coach or like got him to actually look at me. Because I need that kind of assurance. Like, you look fine. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah. See, I'm really lucky in a way. I only started training when I was 32. So, yeah, I've never even been to the gym.
Honestly,
I was just
look over 30 right now, but
I'm 39 in April. So
crazy.
I've got kind of age on my side mentally, if you know what I mean. So I don't really obsess over what I look like in the same way that someone much younger does.
Yeah.
And also I didn't grow up in the social media age, you know, like I didn't even have Instagram or Facebook until I was 25. Like,
that's crazy.
I think it makes such a difference because you guys are on show 24/7, you know, like
that's what I found hard. Instagram, especially like posting content. For a while I was like, I wouldn't find this as hard if I didn't feel the need to always be on Instagram, because firstly I'm in lockdown, I don't see anyone apart from Instagram. Like, through Instagram, and that was scaring me so much because I was like, oh my god, I have to make posts, I have to take photos, but I really don't feel comfortable taking photos.
Yeah. I tell you what though, I've always tried to keep my Instagram, like, I don't know, who wants to look like shit on the internet, right? Like, you don't want to feel uncomfortable. But I did start uploading, as you've seen, my kind of off-season updates, and I did lose a lot of followers after that first one, but I also gained respect from my peers, you know, and I've inspired people to do the same. Someone tagged me today and just said it's been watching these lives and listening to podcasts about it because it's become a topic since I just literally waved the flag saying, guys, can we please be fat in the off season? I'm begging you. Because I also, like you, I look pregnant because my limbs are still quite lean, but my stomach is not. And
I just feel you.
It's the feedback that I get from the other women who are so glad to just see what someone, especially at the level that I'm starting to compete at, because I'm going for my pro card this year, like, they just never see us looking like that. They see the same photos we've had in photo shoots taken, just regurgitated all year, throwback after throwback after throwback. And I just wanted to really normalize normal bodies. They're not even normal, are they? We are still so strong and so athletic and so fit. I think someone wants you to call him back in here. Look.
You know what's so weird? I get random like text messages on WhatsApp. I don't know how people find my number. And it's always like, can I sell you something? Hi, I'm from your Instagram. Call me back. And I'm like, who are you?
I'll tell you how to turn it off later, because it happened to my friend after this Instagram. The guy who asks us to show the biceps, I think he WhatsApped her.
Oh god.
She was literally like, what the fuck? Somebody said, Rebecca, I feel bad for not showing more of myself in off season sometimes. Not gonna lie, I just started posting my check-ins on my story though, since I'm feeling better mentally about how I look. Rebecca, I wouldn't feel bad. You're just human. And it's normal. And I think the reason I put myself out there a bit more is my age. I'm more comfortable in myself. You honestly don't give a as you get older, you stop caring. And you just, as you said, it doesn't matter what you look like. Nobody else cares. Like, literally not one person. And if there is little girls chatting about you and moaning, it's because they're unhappy in themselves. And who cares what they think anyway? So what is, like, you obviously want to grow. You want to knock your last physique out of the park. But are you still mentally held back a little bit because you're worried? I know your job is a coach, isn't it? So it is harder. I've got friends that compete and they're PTs and coaches, and they said that they feel like they always need to be in shape because that's what they're selling, like their services. Yeah. But actually, I think that a competition shape can be quite alienating to your lifestyle clients.
Yeah, I was literally thinking about that the other day, and I looked back at a lot of my prep videos, like my YouTube videos, and it's funny because back then I thought I looked so in shape, and I was like, this is what sells, like I'm a coach, like look at me. Yeah. I look back at those videos and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I look sick. Like I literally look like someone could just snap me apart, and that's not what I want to promote whatsoever. Like I would never want a girl to be like, I want her as my coach because I want to look like that, because they don't see that was like 21 weeks of dieting, like those days where I literally had like no energy, like I would be leaning against my kitchen counter and it hurt because it was just bone. So like now I'm like, actually I'm kind of like accepting this body a lot more because it's healthy and it's what I've always wanted to promote. But I think when you go through prep for that long, you kind of get skewed towards what you think is attractive and what's healthy, because you do it for so long, it's fine. Like, you know, you go into prep being like, I know this isn't healthy, but then through it you kind of forget about that and you're like, oh whatever, like I look lean, abs, cool. Yeah.
There's someone said here, I'm scared of putting myself out there as I find Instagram judgmental. See, I'm really lucky that I don't experience that, but I think it's because I'm quite outspoken, so everyone knows I don't give a fuck what they think. All I care about is if I'm healthy, if I feel good. I mean, I don't feel that healthy right now because I don't do any cardio, because I'm literally like, I've got to grow as much as possible before I start prep in a couple of months. And I feel like I can't breathe.
Feel lethargic.
Yeah, and just unfit. I'm generally unfit.
Yeah, every time I was just like, you know, like less steps. I'm like, you really need to go walking. It's like, no, we want your legs to grow. Less steps. And I'm like,
yeah. And you just got to do what you got to do, right? If you focus on your goal. But I would say for anyone that's worried about putting stuff out there, if you get negative comments, you can unfollow. You can make them unfollow you. You can block them. You could just ignore them, or you could just shoot them down back in the comments, depending on how you feel that day.
Keyboard warrior time.
Yeah. Fuck you.
But
you could be graceful about it and just realize that some people are just arseholes and they will just say anything to get a reaction, and they're bored. Everyone's bored at the moment because they're all not really, you know, it's lockdown. And I have noticed a lot more negativity in the comments of my friends' posts and stuff. We just ignore it. And the thing is, we're all really intelligent, strong women, right? We know that we don't care what these strangers really think.
Honestly, but I do see more about themselves. Like if they take out the time to type up something shit about you, it's like, what does that speak? Like, what does it say about themselves? They're obviously not very happy with themselves. They obviously have way too much time. Like they could be like personal development and all that. But also I think like the same thing with like your personal circle in real life. Like same with Instagram. Like make your circle full of people who actually support you and motivate you. Just block those who aren't supportive. Because like personally, I find like whatever I post on Instagram, whether it's something I don't like, I get so much support, and I feel like it's because I built the circle of like girls who literally are always going to be there. Like if we're not feeling well, we know, you know, if we just posted or like spoke to someone, they're there to support us. So I think it's definitely making sure you have a supportive circle, because like you could find yourself in a really shit circle on Instagram, and if you do,
it's so important the people you have around you, the language that they use when they talk about it. Like me and my friends don't really call it off season anymore because we all have taken quite extended periods to grow. This is just our normal body,
right?
And actually it's our stage body that's the weird thing, and that's weird. And like if I meet someone who prefers me looking like that, what's wrong with them? Because I don't look good. We look good in pictures and on show day, but the rest of it's horrendous. People stare at me if I go and train at the gym group or Pure Gym. The guys aren't staring at me because they fancy me. They're literally like, what the fuck is that? I literally just see every single muscle, right?
Yeah.
It's not very feminine, but I had to deal with that. So in my first growth period where I really started to put on some weight and put on some muscle underneath, I cried then as well because I was butch. And I hated it because I hadn't yet dieted that bit off my arms yet. So I just looked like big compared to what I was used to. And I really found that hard to, I don't know, my new body, in my body image, it was skewed because I thought I was skinny and all of a sudden I was getting a bit buff.
Yeah,
and it's what you train for and it's what you eat for. But I still couldn't accept it mentally. And honestly, it was such a head fuck until I took my first place trophy. And I was like, oh, fuck what anyone else thinks. I'm going to look the way I want to look, which thank God is like a bikini competitor off season. And I'm going to do it for myself. And the right people will just gravitate towards me. Yeah. And the wrong people, they'll just piss off when I keep ignoring them.
Yeah, and you
don't
really
have to have drama about it.
Yeah, it's like they're not there to support you. You don't really need them around. Like,
I honestly,
life's too short for that.
It really is. I had a friend. He's the reason I got into bodybuilding because he had done it, and I thought it was so interesting. And then in my off season before 2018 British, he told me I looked pregnant, and I just was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm in off season." He was like, "You're not in off season. You're not an athlete." And I was like, I'm going to the British, like, in 4 months' time. And you've never been to the British. And I fucking won it. But he had said to me in the gym, part of the reason I probably did win is because he said to me, you're no more special than anyone. He said, everyone on your Instagram just wants to sleep with you. And I don't have that kind of following anyway. So I was like, oh, fuck you. And I just thought, I'm going to win. That'll shut people up. I don't think that my family really understood either until I started bringing the big trophies home. Yeah. And then, of course, everyone wants to congratulate you. But I can't imagine what they must have said behind my back when I first started to do it, especially in the off season, where I warped my body so far out of my natural shape. Yeah. How has your family been about it? Especially, as you said, like the Asian culture is so small.
You know, it's crazy because growing up, my parents were always very, like, westernized, and the fact that, like, I had so much freedom, like, even with my studies, they were always like, as long as you try, we don't really care what you get. So even with bodybuilding, like, my mum, well, at the start when I said bodybuilding, she thought it was, like, you know, the massive hitch guys, and she was like, oh my God, you want to look like that? And I was like, no, like, I want to do bikini. She's like, what? So I showed her photos. She's like, oh yeah, they look really nice. Like, I really like that. And, like, she's like, oh yeah, like, it makes your bum look nice. Like, go for it. I was like,
yeah.
All right. And I remember telling her, like, during prep, I was like, Mom, I'm, like, exhausted. Like, I know this is unhealthy. She's like, oh, like, what's your diet like? And I was like, well, pretty much just chicken, tuna, broccoli, oats, dark chocolate. And she was like, wow, that's so clean and healthy. Keep going. And so I don't think she fully understands, like, what prep is like and what, like, dieting really is. Because she's just like, oh, the food choices are amazing. And I'm like, all right.
You're like, I just need 3 times more of it.
Yeah. And I was like, as long as you're supporting me, like, that's fine. And, like, they've always been very supportive. So, yeah.
That's really nice. Because, you know, you probably are going to have to get quite uncomfortable if you want to make quick progress. Because, of course, you can still grow muscle and stay a bit leaner and have a smaller calorie surplus. Yeah. But it's just going to take longer. And do you really want to wait?
Yeah. See, you know, the thing that's kind of scared me or was giving me anxiety is that we don't have gym access, because, like, when we had gym access for the first, like, month after my show, like, my food was pushed up, but I felt like I was actually utilizing. I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna get fat, I'm eating so much, but at least I'm pushing to my 100% at the gym. Whereas then when we got back into lockdown, that's when I became a lot more, like, anxious about my body, because I was like, okay, I'm still on the same amount of food. I know that I'm not pushing as hard because I physically, like, I can't, like, there's so many things I can't do. And that's when I was kind of like, oh my God, I feel like I'm just eating to put on fat. Like, what is the point? So it's kind of just like, it was pissing me off because I was like, I can't push and I'm eating so much.
I think that this is the time where you have to detach away from what you look like and focus on performance. So I know it's a bit difficult without the gym, but you could do other things like your flexibility and mobility, right? I'm so bad for it. Every day I stand and do yoga. And I don't do yoga. And I need it for my back pose.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
But I've been really focusing in this entire off season, with or without the gym, on my performance, on my logbook, on just in progress and improvements. I've got so much stronger since lockdown started because I have got some kit here. So just able to work on my deadlift and my squat, but now my deadlift's amazing because I didn't have anything else to do. And really I need to focus on, you know, more of it. I need to be more mobile. I do need to be more flexible. And I do need to get my steps in even. I'm not even ticking that box.
Yeah, it's hard working from home though. Like,
yeah.
You know. Did you find that your flexibility actually worsened after shows? Because like now when I do my check-ins, I literally cannot even like twist my body. I don't know if it's because I have more body fat or because I just haven't been practicing as much, but I struggle so much to twist my body.
I think it's tightness in the muscles because we train them so much.
Yeah, maybe.
Because whenever I go to an osteo or a sports massage, they see all kinds of athletes, including bodybuilders, and they always comment about how tight I am and how, like, I always thought my rectus spino was meant to be rock hard because it was muscle. And then I had the first time I had it released, it just went. And I was like, where's my muscle gone? He was like, no, where's your muscle tension gone?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's why it's so important to do stuff like yoga or mobility exercises, but none of us ever do.
Yeah, it's even like foam rolling. Like every bodybuilder's like, I should probably stretch more. I should have probably foam roll. And everyone's like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Till next time.
So what has been like, is there been the worst day since your competition? Like, what was that day?
Honestly, I would say it was probably like the 3 weeks after show. Like those 3 weeks were actually horrendous. Worst day probably that night where I just binged. Like it's weird because like I've never felt so out of control. Like I literally could not leave my pantry. I opened everything up. I was like spooning out the fucking peanut butter jar, like had all my squares bars, like just putting everything I could together. And then you'd wake up feeling like obviously so puffy. I felt so sick. And then through that week, I was still working at home, and it's just like all I could think about was food. It was crazy. Like I would have my manager speaking to me like on call, and all I could like think about, I was calculating how many more hours I could eat my next meal, like trying to like space it out so that I wouldn't have to be like binging at night. And it ended up me being like, I ended up pushing all my food towards the night. And I remember I think I saw Kerry Sexton post about this, but it was almost like me actually planning a binge on my meal plan, because I wouldn't eat most of my meal plan until like 9 p.m. but right before bed, just to prevent myself from binging. So I think it was those 3 weeks that were literally like the worst, like 3 weeks.
I had that even in my this like 2018 show. I thought I'd given myself an eating disorder. I've never had disordered eating before, but I prepped for 18 weeks on very, very low calories. I was stressed at work, and I did every 2 weeks for 6 weeks. I did a show. So it's like you just relax for 1 week after the show. And when I say relax, you just binge. And then you got peak week, and you're like, fuck, I can't stop. And I could not stop between the British 2 weeks later was Worlds. I couldn't stop eating. I had a completely different physique on stage because of how full I was. But yeah, the binging, everyone knows it happens. It happens even to people that don't have eating disorders. I think people have such a stigma around it, saying, oh, that person's got an eating disorder. I think all of us do when we come out of prep. We're not used to normal food. That first prep, when I ate a bowl of oats the next day, I've never had stomach pains like it. Oats. Yeah. Because my stomach, my digestive system just wasn't ready for it. But all I wanted was to feel full. Yeah. Oh, like it was bad. And like, did you? I was gonna say I was gonna say it gets better every time, but my worst time was after my last off season. Oh god. It depends how hard you push. Yeah. I wanted that British title so bad. I would have done anything, really. But I'm really hoping that this year it's not gonna happen, because I've had such a long off season. I'm sick of food. Yeah. I really. But someone's made a comment saying you can't have the trigger foods in the house. I never have them in the house. But what you just described about having absolutely everything, I did the same thing. And it was just even the boring stuff like oats, bread, a block of cheese. Oh my God. Honestly,
I think after prep,
everything in the cheese.
Everything after prep is a trigger food, because you're not eating it for the flavor. You just want to feel full, and I think it's hormonal and mental, because I don't know about you, but like I was so hungry even like 3 months after show. Like I was on food and I would still be waking up at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. My sleep was so shit because I was hungry and starving, and like it got to a point where I was like, I don't know if I'm actually physically hungry or if it's just mental. Like I wake up and I think I'm hungry. Yeah.
I think it happens so much, but people don't talk about it. Like your hunger signaling is fucked because your hormones are out of whack.
Yeah.
But this is why I don't reverse diet ever.
Really?
I go straight back into surplus. I don't even go to maintenance. My coach puts everyone straight back at maintenance. Whatever your new maintenance is, because obviously it's not going to be the same as before. But I just eat. I can't do a diet after a diet. I don't have the control. I don't have the motivation. And my category gets very lean. Like master's criteria is dry and conditioned.
Especially for PCA.
PCA is the worst.
It is insane.
Yeah. So, yeah. But that's another point, actually. You choose your federation. You should choose it by what you look like currently. So I first competed with UKBFF because they liked slim girls. You know, like they didn't have much muscle mass on them at that time. Whereas I would never have been able to do PCA back then. I was so skinny.
Yeah.
And then it took me that 2-year bulk. I cried every day. I'd come out of a restaurant and cry.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to be smaller, but I knew I had to eat, and it wouldn't stop me eating shit. You know, like I wouldn't make better choices. I just ate because I felt shit, and I felt shit because I'd eaten.
Yeah.
And it was bad. But the amount of muscle I was growing underneath, I was really lucky. My coach at the time just kept on saying to me, look at that part of your body. My traps grew really quickly. Like, look at your traps, look at whatever. And now in this off season, I've never been this fat before, but I've also never had glutes like I've got right now. It really is worth feeling uncomfortable if you can make progress. So I do understand what you're saying about the gyms not being open.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think that definitely makes you feel better because you're like, cool, I'm fat, but I'm making progress, and that's all that matters. Because like the worst thing, like the last thing I want to do is go back on stage and look the same.
Yeah.
You know?
That's my motivation as well. I know that if I don't do what I'm doing right now, I'm gonna look the same. I'll look a tiny bit better, probably. I will have grown a little bit, but that's not acceptable for me. So I literally don't look at my stomach ever. It's so weird to say it, but people are like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, don't look at my stomach. I can feel it. And I make sure I wear clothes that fit, because I've got all different kinds of like sizes now of even just gym leggings. There's only so much you can wear, some of those size small. And I'm a size large now because I'm quite tall anyway, but in my head, see, my dysmorphia is the other way around. I think I'm skinny, and I'm clearly not anymore, but I still think I'm skinny. So I'm like, well, how am I wearing large? I'm so like, small. The sizing's wrong.
Go in the gym shop, like, dude, I think this is wrong.
But honestly, weight and sizing of clothes doesn't matter. You know, I think that when I was younger, I was too attached to the sizing of my clothes, thinking that kind of was important, but it definitely wasn't.
You know,
I think. Yeah, go on.
I think, you know, one thing that bodybuilding has helped me so much with is actually not caring about the scale whatsoever. Because I think a lot of girls grow up addicted to watching the scale move. Like, no matter how their body composition looks like, they don't even, like, take that into account. They just look at the scale. Like, their goal is always, like, I want to be X amount of weight. Whereas now, like, I see it more as, like, scientific kind of, it's more like science. It's like, oh, cool, like, this is, you know, it's moving. But whatever number it is, I really don't care.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
What are the negative things that happen to you being stage lean? Like, I'm really lucky. I've never lost my menstrual cycle, but I know so many girls do. My friend, her hair was falling out. Like, did you have any kind of negative health effects? Obviously, your sleep, but
So my period, actually, I lost it in my first year of uni when I went through like really bad eating, over exercise, and I never managed to properly get it back until I bulked up before my first prep, and then I lost it again after prep. Well, as soon as prep started. My hair was fine, but yeah, my sleep, like I couldn't sleep at all. I could feel the springs in my mattress. Like I ended up having to pretty much wrap my duvet like a sleeping bag because it just hurt. It was so painful.
Because you were so lean.
Yeah, I think, or maybe it's just my mattress. I don't know, but it was so painful. I don't feel it now, so clearly it feels too lean. And I think just like, I don't know, fatigue, like no sex drive whatsoever. Like I literally felt like I had no emotions in me. Like even now, sometimes I'm like, I feel nothing. I think because my hormones are still probably like out of what, like, you know, just completely out of place. Yeah. And then I remember, I think it was like 12 weeks into my dieting. I was so depressed. Again, I think it's just hormones. Like that's when most of my carbs got taken away.
Yeah.
I would get to the gym and like, for some random reason, I'd be like on the abduction machine and I just start crying. Or I do like a leg press, I do one step, just cry. For no particular reason. So I think, yeah, definitely just like the hormonal side of things really messed me up quite a bit.
And what are the like your biggest positives at the stage you're in now?
Yeah. Oh, I think definitely like how much I learned about myself going through prep. Like I enjoyed it so much, and I think it's made me into such like I've become so much more disciplined. And it's made me so goal driven. I really couldn't care less about what people think now. And I think that's only because I pushed myself through that prep and I really just like focused on myself for so long, for like 18, 20 weeks. It's like with prep, it is kind of selfish. Like you don't really see your friends anymore. You just kind of focus on yourself. So I think that's definitely one thing like cool that I got out of prep, just like actually really learning about myself, like what my weaknesses are. And I think one was definitely like me always kind of reacting to things way too quickly emotionally. Okay, I've really worked on. I'm like, okay, Chenyang, like think things through before you start crying. Like if you can't control it, just ignore it. Yeah.
I really feel like you just have to focus on the progress and not look at the like, because some of it is you almost feel like you're regressing, right? Because say for example, my waist is 8 inches up on my stage weight. Like 8.
Do you measure do you take measurements for your chicken?
I literally, so I hold my waist, I hold all my fat on my abdomen. So I don't really weigh myself ever. But every now and then, just out of interest, I will just measure my waist. And that's the kind of one that's in my head. And yeah, I did it just a few weeks ago because nothing fits. Even my gym leggings don't fit. And I'm like, how can gym leggings not fit?
They're stretchy.
Yeah. And then I measured it and I was shocked. When I weighed myself and I was like 72 kilos, I was shocked. Like when I started training, I weighed 55 kilos.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So my first stage weight was like 54 kilos. I usually compete about 56. Okay. So I sit around 65 kilos in the usual off season. That's my normal set point. So yeah, I just couldn't believe how much it's gone up. But I've just been focusing on my progress, so I can see physically that I'm getting bigger muscles, thank God. Finally. It's taken years though, because I needed to wait for my muscle to mature, to look more dense, for me to look more athletic at a higher body fat percentage. And that will be the thing that you might struggle with. I had the same in my last bulk. He's like, I felt like it wasn't working. I felt like it was just fat. And the thing is, you don't know how much is muscle until you strip it back.
That's the like difficult thing, because you constantly look at yourself and you're like, I don't know if I'm making progress, but you have to keep going with it. Like you just have to, I think it's one of those things where you just have to believe in yourself. Like you have to believe that as long as you are pushing the hardest you can, you're eating enough, like you will be making progress and you just have to keep going.
Yeah, I think it's almost like blind faith, but if you've kept your coach, it's not blind because that's their job to see. They can see your progress. They can see if it's muscle. I just think that after someone's first season, they just have to be realistic and say, I just need to take some time off, usually. I think that people need to be more realistic when they first prep actually and see that they've got enough muscle mass, because I definitely didn't, which is why I've had to do now a second bulk. But if I'd been training for the 5 years before I competed, I would have been in a very different situation. I think that we're inundated with the pros as well. With their off-season physiques, they don't have to get that much bigger because they've already built the muscle. Yeah, they've just got to do tweaks. And that's what a lot of girls are looking at them saying, well, why, you know, Kerry did one the other day and she's hardly gained any weight this time. I've got Phoebe coming on Monday. She's looks great as well.
Yeah.
But most people didn't follow them when they first started out.
Yeah.
You know, everyone really did start at a skinny, less muscle mass, because it's normal, right? Women don't generally carry it naturally.
And like, because they have already so much more muscle, even if they put on body fat, they still look a lot more toned and lean than someone who has like very little muscle and puts on a tiny bit of body fat.
It's the same. Honestly, that's what I found about myself, and that's why I couldn't really push this second time, is I've got more muscle mass underneath, so I can see that I've still got muscle even if I feel fat. But yeah, we just have to stop comparing ourselves to everyone else as well.
And I think, you know, one thing that I kind of struggled with initially was also people post-show would, like, all the girls would post like, oh, chicken 1 kg up 1 week, like post 1 week. And it's like, it's cool, the updates are really cool, but sometimes I know it does get to people's heads, and I know it's almost like, you know, in prep when someone talks about like, oh, how many calories I'm still eating or how little my cardio is. It's like, it's cool, the updates are amazing, but sometimes it can be triggering, especially I think it's worse post-show, because you're like, so-and-so only gained 1 extra kg and she's 3 weeks post-show. I've gained like 5 and I'm 3 weeks post-show. Like, am I doing something wrong? But it's like, you just have to remember, like, no one's prep was the same, so like no one's post ever going to be the same. Like, your bodies are going to respond so differently, your coaches will push food differently. And I think that's one thing that a lot of girls do also end up kind of freaking out about. Like, you know, it's like a competition where it's like, who can stay the leanest for the longest.
It's so hard because you feel shit when you're lean. So I'm like, do they still feel shit 3 months post show? Like, they must do. But I find if anything triggers you, you don't have to consume that information. You can mute them if they're your friends, or you can just remove them if they're not. You know, we all follow a lot of people. I actually don't. I went through in that season and I just only have people I know that I follow now, and like people that I've met. But when I first started, I had, you know, the world and its wife, every fitness model you could imagine, I was pitting myself against. And it was really stupid because they don't even look like that in real life. It's all edited. I think that a big thing for especially first timers to realize as well is most girls in certain federations are using performance enhancing drugs of some sort. Like maybe steroids, maybe fat burners, but it's so rife in certain federations especially that I think it's amazing that Two Bros are doing the naturals and the naturals classic now. I think it just gives everyone a platform that does still want to IFBB pro card, but it's, you know, bodybuilding, right? And if you're going to be in it, you've got to accept the steroid usage unless you compete in a tested federation.
See, that was something I didn't realize until like after my second show, my coach was like, there's a natural show, like do it. And I was like, wouldn't it be the same? Because I really just did a Two Bro show. And he was like, you'd be surprised how many girls won't be able to compete in this one. And like, because for me, I always thought bikini was like, you don't, like, no one really takes anything, like you don't really need to. And he was like, like a lot of bikini girls are on stuff as well, which is crazy. Like, I didn't realize.
A lot of bikini girls are doing some more drugs than some of the men I know. It's crazy, but it's for some people that's what it's going to take to get them the trophy. Not everyone is genetically suited to do this sport, and it's really hard pill to swallow, isn't it, if it's something that you really enjoy and you love doing. But that's why I will always be in the mix, maybe not win, just because naturally my lat spread is so wide compared to my waist. It's my rib cage. You know, it's not even muscle. So I've already got a head start on someone because I've got an X shape with no muscle. I just had no bloody legs. So someone has said, how long did it take till you started noticing muscle maturity? It took me 3 years.
How long have you been training?
I've been training, so I started when I was 32. I did that show. That was like 6 months of training. Then I just didn't really train for a year. I just ate. And then I had a proper off season for a year. and that was when I started training properly. So that was in like 2016, end of 2016, I started training properly, and I've been training consistently since. But lockdown has made me way more consistent because I've got no temptation to socialize. So I love a drink. I love going out to eat. So that really will take over from my gym life. I'll probably train 4 times a week then, whereas now I train 6. I'm going to bed after this because I'm so knackered from training this week. But yeah, it took a long time, and I think that that's another thing that you have to remember, that the chapter of your story that you're on, the person you're probably looking at saying, why the fuck can't I look like that? They're in a different chapter already.
Yeah. And you know what, like something that I've struggled with as well is also like balance, in terms of like, I think we kind of spoke about this before, but like balancing like my training, but also like say like love life or anything else. Because I know that obviously you have a partner, so it probably makes things a lot easier because you don't have to like, I don't know, think about that, you know, that kind of stuff so much. But for me, I'm like, every time I meet someone, like, no, it's not going to work because I really want to prioritize my training. Like, I am so set on my routine that if nothing fits it, I get freaked out, and I'm like, I'm sorry, like, it's not going to work. Like, I have to eat at this time, sleep at this time, you know, my off plans must be on this day because it just works for me, and I don't want to change things.
But the right person will understand it. They might not know what the hell is going on, but they'll understand. But I think it's easier for me to commit to my fat gain in the off season because I am seeing someone. Because when I'm single, I want to stay better body composition because I want to date, or, you know, like, I don't want to be on my own 24/7.
Feel more confident as well.
Right. And then I feel like, especially once you tell someone you're a bikini athlete, they're looking at you like, well, why do you look like a potato right now?
It's that stigma. They're like, what?
Yeah. They think that you're going to be like a fitness model on a cover shoot, you know, all the time. And I really did find, when we were talking about negative language that you use, like, I would talk to myself really badly about the way I looked back then, and I'd make excuses for why I was 10 kilos up and try to explain to them, but I wasn't telling them so that they could understand the sport. I was trying to excuse my current, or my then current physique, which I'm really annoyed at myself for doing now, because this time I've just said, I'm not going to make any excuses. This is why I'm doing it. And don't get me wrong, some days are awful and I just feel like a fat mess. And some days I'm like, I'm strong and I'm healthy, and you know, my body is giving me this opportunity to lead this lifestyle. I'm so lucky. Some people wish they could. But it is so hard, and you have to be very strong mentally, I think.
I think it's hard when you have people that you're friends with or people you know who don't do bodybuilding, because like I started working at this consultancy firm, and obviously no one knows what the heck bodybuilding is. And when I first met them, it was like 1 week after my show, and something I was so insecure about was like seeing them again like 2 months after, and I was like, oh my god, they're gonna notice that my face is like so much bigger. It's like, obviously with people around you who compete, they're like, oh yeah, like she's in her off season, cool. Like when we met her, she was off prep, but like when I met them, they don't know what prep was. They don't know that I lost like 10 kgs for stage. So like in your head, you're like, do people just think that I've lost the plot and I've just gained 10 kgs like willingly, you know? Or like when you go back to the gym and you see people who don't know you bodybuild, you're like, do they think I've just kind of lost the plot and just, you know? It's like,
I think it is really hard, but you honestly have to just try and detach away from other people's opinions. Because especially like, if you don't want to be that person, why do you respect their opinion in that way? Do you know what I mean? Like, if I don't want to be you and you're going to comment on something in my life that you're saying I should be like you, but I don't want to be like you. So I don't know how to really verbalize that, but that kind of thing, it's like, if I'm not trying to emulate whatever you're doing, why am I going to listen to your opinion on what I'm doing? I have noticed as well that people are very, very forthcoming in telling you you've put on weight, but they'll never tell you when you've lost too much. But why are you, someone literally yesterday sent me a message saying men prefer chubby girls, and I know he was teasing, but I was like, are you calling me chubby? And he was like, oh no, I was just saying. And I was like, but they're not used to seeing most, like all the bikini competitors I'm around in London, they stay their body comp's quite tight. I think it is actually because we work much longer hours than other people as well in London.
Yeah.
Generally. And I do still have to fit it in a corporate job and life and training. But what you said about you're so rigid and so structured, you will learn to relax that a little bit as you just learn what works for your body.
Yeah.
You know, things will change. It's not going to stay the way it is. You'll probably leave your coach at one point to join another team just to learn from them. And you just pick up little bits along the way that makes it fit into your lifestyle.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's just like when you just start out, it's like you don't really know like on the scale like 0 to 100 where to be at, so you're kind of just always like, I have to do this. This is what I have to do. Like, I can't get off track. If I go off track, like I've completely like destroyed my next season.
Yeah. I used to think that I had to do all my exercises in the exact order that they were on the training plan.
Yeah.
And so I'd sometimes have to stand next to the leg press for like 25 minutes while the guy on it was texting. And I'm like, how many sets have you got left? Yeah. Now it's like, just go and do the rest of the exercises. It doesn't bloody matter. Unless it's something very taxing that you need that energy for, or that thing's going to fuck up. You know, some things really pump my lower back up, so I know I won't be able to do them until the end. But yeah, it's just getting it done and understanding that I really try to show you don't have to be 110% in it to be successful, because I'm not 110% in it. I'm only so into it because lockdown is the only thing I can control is my training at the moment. And maybe this might be my last year for a little while just because of my age and where I'm at in my life. So I want to give it my all. But usually those first couple of years, I drank way more. I probably drink more alcohol in 1 year than every single one of my followers put together. Because in my 20s I ran a nightclub and that was my lifestyle. You know?
Really?
So,
that's so,
yeah, what you said about having friends from outside of the industry not understanding. This is why I've got 2 Instagrams. So the other Martina was the second one, but obviously I've got my Martina one, which was my personal life, because those friends don't give a damn how much I can squat or deadlift. You know, they are happy for me when I do well because they know I tried hard. But I've never talked about the gym or competing to my best friend. Like, she just wouldn't be interested. And fair enough. It's boring.
Yeah.
It is though, isn't it? You go out with a bunch of competitors and your partners, and the partners are just sitting there listening to you talk about competing because you're all so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And this, I think you will like relinquish so much control and start to relax more as you get more experience. It's the same with anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
because I think it's first time, it's almost also kind of scary being like, if I go off plan now, you know, like, am I allowed to do that? Like, is that what you should be doing? Like,
I just think you've really got to focus on just making progress. Like, I know it's really hard, but you got to even just tell yourself, okay, right, I'm not happy with how fat I am today, but I'm doing it because, and just imagine yourself, whatever your goal is, achieving that goal, like visualize it. I always visualize myself walking forward in first place to get me through the tougher days. And on the days that I can't be bothered, I visualize myself walking forward in second place.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I cannot come second again at Worlds, or worse. I can't go back. I've got to win. So that's why I can be uncomfortable at the moment. Honestly, my stomach looks awful. I can't wear. I broke my posing bikini yesterday. A posing bikini. And I just text my bikini lady, like, I've broken it. It's adjustable and I still broke it.
Yeah.
And all we both said was, my bum's getting big. Yes.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed that it's not just fat.
Yeah.
Just focus on the progress, honestly. And if you can embrace an off season and suck up how uncomfortable you feel, you will look 10 times better next time.
Yeah.
And that's worth it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially you're going to not be in. Is this your last year as junior?
I think so. I mean, like, competed junior, like in one category for junior, and then the rest for two bros is like pretty much open anyway. So yeah.
Just
got most people who did all my classes would could do junior anyway, so it pretty much was the same.
So what's your plan for this year so far? Like, have you got shows that you want to do?
So I qualified for the British final, so that's August the 1st. So we're looking at that one, but then my coach said that if, say, gyms don't open till like end of March or like start of April, they might get pushed back. So like we're kind of playing it by ear right now, but like August, September time.
I think honestly you have so much resilience when you're new and you don't know what's going on. Like it's easy for me to be like, well, I know I can smash out a prep in 12 weeks, so I have to. It'll be horrible, but I can do it.
You can do it.
But you don't have that knowledge yet to know if you can. Am I doing PCA finals? Am I doing PCA? Are you doing PCA finals?
I qualified, but I don't think I want to go back to PCA. I think the federation is amazing. Like they're so lovely, but I never felt so shit on stage from the PCA one because I'm not big enough. Like
it's a lot of drugs in PCA,
and I don't have the look. Like I think I suit bros a lot more than PCA. I love the PCA look, but I just don't suit.
As you progress physically, you will look more like other federations, you know, as you build your muscle, but you've got to choose the one you enjoy, otherwise it's no fun. And so I love the PCA posing, so I will always, and I love showing off my back because it's muscly. But I just felt like when I was doing two bros posing, I was like, am I even here? Like it's so easy.
It's really nice.
I didn't have the shape until maybe this year. I might have the right shape. I'm going to wait and see until I'm lean because I really want to do Amateur Olympia. But PCA is 1 week before PCA Universe. So I don't know how I can bring this, like, the correct look to both. I mean, easily get PCA lean. It's lucky it's that way around, actually. And then maybe just eat tons in peak week to soften up a bit. But
it's better that it's that way around because for me it was the other way. So I had the Ben Weeder and then PCA, and that second peak week, like honestly, it was like Hunger Games 2.0. Like, I've never been so hungry. Like my whole prep was fine, but that 1 week I was starving, and I remember I had a bath. I fully fell asleep in the bath because I was just so exhausted. I was doing HIIT cardio again, and like it just all came back, and I was like, oh my god. But I was so excited because like after the first show I had like I think so much adrenaline in me that I was like, I can do this. Like it's just 1 week. Like let's go. But yeah, like that was hard.
Well, I definitely think you've got the champion mentality. So if you can just dig deep and get it done, you're going to have even better year because you did have a really successful first season.
Thank you.
And I think that that's the thing that you should think, like, I'm new and I'm natural and I still was noticed. It is worth it to get uncomfortable to be even better next time. You know, you want people to know your name, not in a bad way, but you know, you want people to be like, I often go to shows and I just know the girls' names. I don't know them, I don't follow them, but then people are talking about them because they're very talented, and you just got to dig deep and get it done. And you obviously are very good at getting prep done. It's the same skill set.
Yeah, it's true.
Just very, very different.
Look.
It is different, and it's hard. I think it is hard. Society has told women that we need to be certain shape, you know, and it changes, but they always say like this is the ideal shape for now. And I'm always not that shape. Like now it's that Kim Kardashian kind of Cardi B, curvy, tiny little waist. I can't. As big as my bum can get, it's never going to be like that. So I've got to be realistic.
It's true.
I think it goes back to what everyone's been saying about you just have to kind of blinker yourself, not worry about what other people think. Know that you are a friendly, kind, warm-hearted person, right? And that's what people are going to remember about you. They're never going to remember your six-pack.
And I think it's also reminding yourself what your goals are. Like, is your goal to, when your next show is your goal just to, like, look lean all year round? Because that's completely fine, too, you know? It's like, cool, then do that, but then compete and just don't expect anything, and that's fine, too. But if you want to be competitive, then you kind of have to sacrifice being lean all year round. And like,
yes,
there's
that's exactly it.
too much to being lean all year round. Like, I love that I can just smash down a pizza now and be like, you know, yeah.
I think also just focus on the training, because the training is the important bit. It's the bit that creates your shape. And if you want to be strong and have good form and progress every week, it's so motivating to even get one more rep, you know, or an extra 5 kgs, that you stop worrying about what you look like and you start worrying about your performance. And with performance comes food, because you need to fuel your training. And it all just comes together in this amazing synergy. And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I am a bit fat, but I'm also bloody strong, you know. And even today I was training and I was like, I feel like I'm good at this now, but it's taken years to get good at training. I was never very good in the gym. I don't know why, but now I'm injured. I've had to learn how to train properly. But just focus on the numbers, and then the trophies will come, because you've done the diet before, you know what it takes.
Do you, like, having already done like quite a few shows, would you say your second prep was easier, or was it harder because you went through, I don't know, that you already went through like one prep and then you expected it to be easier, but then
Mate, looking, what trophy's the second? I think my second prep was much easier, actually. But I had learned more about the industry. Even when I did my first prep, I didn't even know where to buy a bikini. It wasn't, Instagram wasn't really a thing. We had it, but no one really used it. There was no stories, you know, it wasn't very engaging. So yeah, it was kind of just, I didn't know what the hell was going on. Whereas the second time, I kind of knew more to ask my coach questions. I had a different coach, which helped, because the first one just wasn't the right one for me. And just a different friendship group. You know, I've got bikini girlfriends that were all prepping, and then I've got my other friends that I just didn't really see them for 3 months, which was bad. But you do what you got to do. It's like I couldn't be around normal food when I was prepping the first 2 years. And in my last prep, my ex-boyfriend used to eat pizza every single night in front of me. He's a fat bastard. But it didn't bother me, because I was just thinking about my goal, and I was thinking about that first place, walking forward, as they called my name. Just got to focus on that, really. It is hard. It is hard. But then you know now that there's so many other people that feel the same way.
And I think you just have to give yourself time, because like you just have to give your brain enough time as well to register that this new body is actually a normal body. And I don't know about you, but like, did you ever go back to your old photos before you even started bodybuilding and then be like, I swear I look better then than I do now, even though you actually physically look better now, but for some reason, just because you've been through a whole prep and you see yourself on stage, you just, I was asking myself, I was like, did my face used to always be this big? Like, why was I never concerned before? And I think it's just because I've seen it lean, so I'm like, no, I still look the same. It's just, I now feel like I look 10 times fatter than I've ever been.
As you get older, you'll want your face to be fatter, because it makes you look younger. And then the skull face from prep. I watched back some of my videos from my Instagram story archive of me talking when I was lean. I looked so bad in the face. But I knew it at the time, but I didn't realize how bad it was until I started to look normal again. And people used to start telling me how healthy I look and how happy I look, and I'd be like, well, it's because I've actually got a bit of water under my skin now. But yeah, I do know what you mean. I used to think that I was a lot happier in myself back then, even though I've got a much better physique now because I'm trained so hard. But I was happier back then because we weren't surrounded by other lean fitness models. I think the crew is important.
It's true.
And then just block out the ones that make you feel triggered. You know, you don't have to make a drama of it. You just distance yourself.
If you had like one advice to tell your first timer self, what would it be?
Stop eating that fucking food 4 weeks after. Jesus, you don't need to eat like that. I think that my biggest advice would be just to go easy on yourself. You judge yourself constantly. It's like you said, you thought you weren't lean, whereas really you were so lean. And then you think you're fat, but you're not fat. I went to Bali a month after my first show, and I don't have a single photo of me in a bikini because I felt I was fat. I was so skinny. When I look back now, I obviously just had a little bit of extra body fat on my abdomen. I mean, compared to now, it would be nothing. And I really ruined that holiday for myself because I felt so uncomfortable. I remember I cried because I was fat. My boyfriend must have thought I was insane. But yeah, just I didn't get real. Do you know what I mean? I'm lucky. I've never worried that I'm not in condition. I can always tell I am. But I have the other thing. I'm like, I haven't got enough muscle. I haven't got enough muscle. And then I get up on stage and I'm the same size as the other girls. And it's like, you're a fucking idiot. You've just spent a whole year telling yourself you're not good enough. Yeah. But you just got to believe in yourself. That's half the stage presence, isn't it? Thinking you're Beyonce.
Yeah, it really is. And that takes time to like get out of yourself. Because I remember, like when I first started posing, I was like, I could never be on stage, walk in a bikini, in heels. And then you just kind of have to trick your mind into being like, I can do it, like easy, you know, like this is something I love.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
As many times you can that like you can do it. Like it just comes naturally after a while.
I was saying yesterday, oh no, the day before actually, to someone that front pose that you guys do for Two Bros, where you're kind of like standing, is so unforgiving when you've got any body fat around your middle. And
your waist looks this big. When you
I just wouldn't do that pose while I'm off season. I don't do it. And it's only when I'm halfway into my prep I start doing that pose, because I've always been like, am I going to do Two Bros this year? Yeah. And then my coach will be like, right, now your waist is smaller. I can see the shape that you're making. Yeah. But just don't do that pose when you feel fat, because that's the worst pose ever. Yeah. I remember like my first few chickens after like my show. Now I look back and I'm like, wow, I still looked really good. But I honestly took them and cried because I was like, I look so fat now. And it's just that pose. It's like as soon as you have a little bit of water in your waist just looks so much thicker. It's crazy. But then when you look lean, it looks really good because your glutes pop, like your weight comes in, and like it just all works. Yeah. I just want you to promise me that next time you feel shit about your physique, you're going to cut yourself off and be like, listen, bitch, not today. Not today. We've got trophies to win and progress to make.
Exactly. We got to look better next time on stage, not the same.
Yeah. And just think there's going to be someone doing what you need to be doing because they've got the drive and the passion to win as well, and you don't want to let them have it. You know, you've got to do what you can. You will not have to bulk hard every off season, but I do think that everyone needs one just to get their hormones back, especially after the first show. That first season, hormones are so bad for all of us. But yeah, just smash one growth like phase, and then you can keep it a bit tighter the other times. I had like social things like my sister's wedding and stuff like that, and I still just bulked and I look so bad in that bloody bridesmaid's dress, but the way I looked at my competition was so different to the first one that it was worth it.
Yeah I think it's just hard when you're with people who don't compete, because you feel like you have to you owe them an explanation as to why you're this way almost, but it's just like I think it's
just honestly
go. One thing you need to remember is that normal people who don't compete actually don't focus on weight so much. Like for some reason, me, when I see someone, what I notice first, it's so bad, but it's always like, oh, they're getting a bit of weight now, like, oh, it's lockdown. But for a normal person, they don't really register. It's just because we overanalyze our bodies and our weight so much that everyone else does. And
my best friend's like, why do you guys think it's so important what you look like? It's not. And it's true. The people will only remember how you made them feel.
Yeah, for sure.
So we just got to be good people. Yeah. With amazing glutes. Exactly. The best of both worlds.
And nice shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. You will get there. We will all get there. Yeah. Let's just watch this space that my glutes are muscle and not fat.
Honestly, so yeah.
Never know, right? Well, thank you so much for today. I'm going to put this on my IGTV so that other people can catch up. But it's been really nice talking to you. And just cut yourself off in the middle of the negative thoughts. I want you to hear my voice saying no.
Bish, no.
We've got shit to do.
Yeah.
Because we do. And I'm always here if you want to chat.
Awesome, yeah. It was so nice speaking with you.
And you. And thank you everyone that's tuned in.
A lot of random guys.
See you later.
Thanks for joining.